Deana Patnode, 30, of Inver Grove Heights, disappeared without a trace in 1982. Her family spent over 26 years wondering what happened to Deanna, and her mother and father passed away without ever getting answers. 26 years later, Deanna's sister Chloe would finally get some answers. Thanks to cold case playing cards distributed in jails and prisons throughout Minnesota in 2008, a tipster looking on the Minnesota Bureau of Apprehension's website saw the 4 of diamonds and the face featured and told investigators that he believed the unidentified woman looked like a neighbor he grew up with in Kellogg, Minnesota, that disappeared when he was 10 years old. Investigators followed that tip and ran DNA tests to prove that it was Deanna. Now, an unidentified Jane Doe had her name back, and her sister family had some answers as to what happened to her sister. But we still don't know who is responsible for Deanna's disappearance and her death, and her case remains unsolved. We are in our 31st week, and we are still in Minnesota. Deanna was born in St. Paul, Minnesota, and was the youngest of 4 children. She loved her family, especially her nieces and nephews, and was an avid lover of animals, summer weather, motorcycles, and her friends. There isn't a lot of information about Deanna's disappearance, but what we do know is she was last seen leaving the Buckboard Bar with friends in South St. Paul on October 26, 1982. Her case would grow cold with no trace of Deanna. Then 7 years later, remains were discovered by a mushroom hunter. Deanna's remains were found south of Kellogg in Wabasha County in a wooded median of US 61 south of Kellogg. At this time, they didn't have enough information to make a positive identification, but it was determined by the medical examiner that this Jane Doe's death was a homicide, but the exact cause of her death remains unknown. In the early 90s, investigators had a forensic artist create a facial reconstruction out of clay. This photo model would be used in 2008 by the Minnesota Bureau of Apprehension to feature this unknown Jane Doe as the 4 of diamonds in their cold case playing cards that are distributed to jails and prisons across Minnesota in hopes of garnering tips. In 2009, a tipster looking at the Bureau's website of the playing cards told investigators that they recognized the facial reconstruction photo, and they believed the image looked like a neighbor who had disappeared when he was 10 years old. Investigators followed that tip and reached out to Deanna's sister Chloe, who hadn't seen the facial reconstruction on the card until investigators contacted her. She told investigators that she believed that the image on the card did closely resemble her sister, and DNA tests were run and confirmed it was indeed Deanna. Chloe says that her family still wants to know what happened to Deanna, but are grateful that she has been identified and that they are able to lay her to rest. And this is where we come in. There is very little information about Deanna's case out there. Investigators need us to continue to share Deanna's face and case so that we can determine the circumstances that led to Deanna's death and disappearance and find who is responsible and hold them accountable. Deanna's case is an active homicide investigation, and they are asking that if you have any tips in her case, that you call the Washaba County Sheriff's Department at 651-565-3361. Please keep sharing Deanna's face in her case.